y'all, it's Jessica from Sloppy Swatches. Today I have a look at the Celestial Stars collaboration collection coming from Celestial Cosmetics. So these are available right now. They have been out for a bit. I've had them in my swatch queue, but I'm just now getting around to sharing them with you. But for a bonus, everything right now at Celestial Cosmetics is at 50% off. So I will definitely link her storefront down below. I recommend you check it out. She's running the sale all the way through September 30th, and these bottles of polish are retailing at only $5 a piece. So I'll go ahead and get right into the swatches. So first up is Sunrise on Venus, and this is described as a bright pink base with a green shimmer, green sparks, and light green micro glitter. So super beautiful. This is almost like a corally type pink. I'll go ahead and show you a quick look at that brush shot, and then I'll show you how Sunrise on Venus swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at my first easy coat. This polish is pretty much complete coverage in just one coat, especially if you tend to go a little bit thicker like I do. I am going to go ahead and let this dry and then show you how it builds up for me with a second coat. I needed a second coat to kind of clean up those lines a little bit and make sure that it didn't deepen the finish. So here's a quick look at my second coat. I did end up going in for just a nice normal second coat, and it for sure does pull this one completely opaque and did help me clean up those lines. I feel like the green shimmer might get just a little bit stronger here with that second coat. So this polish does dry down matte. I definitely do recommend going in with a glossy top coat. Here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat under artificial lighting, and this is my final swatch photo at an angle with a glossy top coat under that same artificial lighting. So next up is Sunset Dreams, and this is such a cool polish. This is described as an orange linear hollow with color shifting at flaky. So this is in a bit of a jelly formula, but with a really strong linear holographic effect. It just looks like fall and Halloween. So there's a quick look at that brush shot, and then I'll show you how Sunset Dreams swatched on my natural nail. So like I said, this is a little bit more of a jelly, which is really going to make some depth and allow those flakes to peek through, but it did make for a pretty sheer first coat. I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and then show you how it builds up with the second coat. That second coat does amp up that orange pigment and of course adds more flakes and hollows. I did still have a little bit of nail line, so again I'm going to let that dry and then show you how it built up for a third and final coat. This did pull this one completely opaque. It deepens that finish and adds a ton more flakes. Definitely worth 3 coats for that finish. So here's a look at that completed mani at 3 coats before a glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting. You can see this does dry down fairly smooth and glossy with not much texture at all, which I love. That is my final swatch photo at an angle in that artificial lighting. So next up I think is my top pick. This is Point of No Return, and this is described as a black based hollow with a sprinkle of red micro glitter. So I'm living for that red shimmer in this black hollow polish. I'll go ahead and show you a quick look at the brush shot, and then I'll show you how Point of No Return swatched on my natural nail. This is a hollow that has more of a jelly formula, so here's a quick look at that first coat. This one did start out fairly sheer and maybe a little bit streaky. It does build up really well on itself, but I think that's something worth mentioning, that it does start out fairly sheer. So I'll let that dry and then show you how it built up for me with a second coat. Since this one was a little bit more on the sheer side, I did end up going for a thicker second coat. This did bring this polish to full coverage, and I did stop here for my swatches, but I really wish that I'd gone in for a third coat. I think it would have made that black a little bit deeper and maybe strengthened up that red shimmer from those glitters. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat, and this is my final swatch photo at an angle under that artificial lighting. So next up is Pale Moon Rising, and this is described as a light blue base with red sparks, silver flakes, and pink hollow micro shreds. It also looks like it has some iridescent elements going on in there. Super beautiful in the bottle. I'll go ahead and show you a quick look at that brush shot, and then I'll show you how Pale Moon Rising swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first coat. I would say this is more of a crelly. It does have a little bit of that creamy feel to it. This first coat was still a little bit sheer. That's going to add some depth for all of the flakies and glitters. So I'll let that dry and then show you how it built up for me with a second coat. So for the second coat, I did end up going in for just a nice, normal second coat. You can still see I do have a little bit of nail line kicking there, but it did definitely deepen that finish a little bit, so I'll let that dry and then show you how it built up with my third and final coat. So for this third coat, I did end up going in a little bit thicker, and it does pull this polish to complete coverage. It sparkles like a really cool turquoise on the nail. I think it'd be really fun for a cool turquoise stone look. So here's a look at that completed mani at 3 coats before a glossy top coat underneath the artificial lighting, and then this is my final swatch photo at an angle under that same artificial lighting. So next up is the Final Frontier. This polish is described as a dark blue base that's filled with violet sparks and silver micro glitters. So this has a very strong purple shimmer. It almost looks like it has a teal base, especially while you're applying it, but it is very deep and vampy. So there's a quick look at that brush shot, and then I'll show you how the Final Frontier swatched on my natural nail. So this is in a bit of a squishy jelly formula too. You can see what I mean there about that blue or teal base. This one did apply just a little bit streaky on this first coat, so I'll go ahead and let that dry and show you how it built up with that second coat. So here's a quick look at my second coat. I did end up going in for just a little bit of a thicker second coat here, and this is so close to being a full coverage. It was just a little bit sheer around the edges and the tip for my liking. I think with careful application you could totally get away with two. I'm going to go ahead and show you how it built up with a third and final coat. This does pull this polish completely opaque for me, and it is totally worth that finish. Very deep and inky and vampy. It almost looks like the night sky is super gorgeous. So here's a look at that completed mani at 3 coats before, glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting. And this is my final swatch photo at an angle under that same artificial lighting, but I think this is going to be even more stunning in natural sunlight. So lastly today I have Stars in Our Soul, and this is described as a bright blue base jelly pack full of hollow soft pink micro glitter, hollow sapphire micro glitter, and hollow bright pink micro glitters. So it has been so long since I've had a good micro glitter come across my swatch cue, and this one is fantastic. So here's a quick look at that first coat. This is definitely a micro glitter polish, so it's suspended in a little bit of a purple tinted base. It was maybe a tiny bit gritty, but it's not one of those that's going to be sticky or hard to apply at all, if you know what I mean. If you've worked with a lot of micro glitters, sometimes they can be a little bit base heavy. That's not the case here at all. So here's a quick look at how it built up with a second coat. Again, really close to full coverage. If you wanted to sponge this one on, I think that would be totally appropriate too, but you don't necessarily have to. So here's a quick look at my third and final coat, and it does pull this one to complete coverage. I am loving this purple and red glitter combination, or purple and pink, but it did look red to me. So that's a quick look at that completed third mani, and this is a look at that completed mani altogether with 3 coats before a glossy top coat. So this one does dry down nice and smooth. Of course, I do recommend a glossy top coat, but this is my final swatch photo at an angle under that artificial lighting. And that does wrap up my swatch and review of the Celestial Stars collaboration collection. Again, these are retailing at $5 to $5.50 a piece. I will link her storefront down below. If you'd like to see more photos, I do have those available on my blog at sloppyswatches.com, or you can also follow me on Instagram at sloppyswatches. So thanks so much for watching, guys. See you next time.